ሕጂ ቀፂላ ዘላ ፕሬዘንተር ካብ ኦምና ትግራያ የሩሳሌም ግርማይ ትበሃል። ኦምና ትግራይ ነቶም ዘይትፈልጥዎ ማለት እዩ ናይ ትግራይ ኣድቮካሲ ግሩፕ እዩ። ኣብዚ ናይ ትግራይ ጀኖሳይድ ግዜ ዝተመስረተ እዩ። እቲ ዝገርመካ ብጣዕሚ ፓወርፉል እዩ እቲ ኦርጋናይዜሽን። ኣነ ኸማን ዶኔት ክገብር ከለኹስ ብናቶም እየ ዝጥቀም ነይረ ማለት እዩ እቲ ናይ ጀኖሳይድ ግዜ። ሕጂ ብጣዕሚ ዓብ ዝኾነ ናይ ትዊተር ካምፔይን ፋንድ የዋፅኡ ንጀኖሳይድ ካምፔይንስ ዋላ እቲ ሰላማዊ ሰልፍታት ገለ መላ ኦርጋናይዝ ዝገብሩ። እቲ ዝገርመካ ከዓኒ ዝበዝሓ ዝመስረትኣ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ብደቂ ኣንስትዮን ከዓ ንኣሽቱ ማለት እዩ ትሕቲ ሳላት ኣብ 20ታት ዘለዋ ቨሪ ስትሮንግ ውሕዳት ኣወዳት ኣለወን ምስአን ግን ኣሜዚንግ ቨሪ ኢምፕሬሲቭ ዝኾና ግሩፕ ኦፍ ደቂ ኣንስትዮን ብጣዕሚ ነኽብረን ኢና ንፈትወን ኢና without further ado the Jerusalem I'm going to invite you to present and welcome and thank you for taking your time to do so.
Thank you for that warm welcome and kind introduction. And thank you, Yosef, for the invitation to speak. As she just stated, my name is Eyerusalem Girmay, and I am the Chief Communications Officer for Omna Tigray. And we started, as she mentioned, once the genocide against Tigray happened, we started officially in December 2020. And I'm going to just share a presentation. يقرأ an event, Felsi English تزعرف. So I'm going to just share my presentation, and towards the end, we're going to leave it open for Q&A. I'm going to mostly talk about establishing and maintaining a nonprofit advocacy organization, and then implementing some successful strategies that we've used at Omna, so it's applicable to pretty much everyone. So this is empowering impact building and strengthening nonprofits, and this is really just how to maximize your reach and efficacy. So the first thing that you need to do in establishing or maintaining is making sure that you establish like your core vision. So successful nonprofits start with a compelling vision, whether you're establishing a new organization or working with an existing one. You want to clarify your vision to drive purpose, align stakeholders, and create a lasting impact. It should be very obvious when people see your vision statement what your organization is about. I've included the example of what we have for our vision statement for Omna Tigray. So our vision is to fight injustice, advocate for peace and economic development, and amplify the voices of the people in Tigray via our sustainable, long-lasting platform. So here you can see it's multi-level. So we want to amplify the voices for Tigray. We want to fight injustice. So sometimes you want to keep it pretty broad so that a lot of things can fit into that category. And then with your vision, there's also the mission statement. So this is going to be what guides your nonprofit. For existing organizations, periodic missions reassessment ensures alignment with evolving goals and community needs. And for those starting anew, crafting a mission that resonates with your vision. So this can change depending on what state you are and what your goals are. And then I will kind of show you what we have now. So for our mission, it's to build a global community resource center advocating for the human rights and economic development of Tigrayans and other oppressed peoples in Tigray. And then we're formed with the belief that access to educated and inclusive advocacy is key to fighting disinformation and injustice. And it is our mission to create that platform for the Tigrayan community and the wider global community. So one of the reasons we started Omna Tigray was, as you guys are aware, after the genocide launched on November 4th, 2020, there was a lack of communication coming out of Tigray, and that was because of design. And so what we saw was a lot of misinformation and disinformation being spread. And we felt that there was kind of a gap in educated advocacy to tell people what was really happening in Tigray. And quickly, because we were really the only ones kind of doing that, providing really detailed reports, situation reports, doing these Twitter campaigns, things of that nature, a lot of stakeholders kind of quickly grew to us, and other members of the Tigrayan community used us as a resource to educate the global audience of what that is happening into Tigray. And then now we're going to go into strategic planning for growth. So once you kind of have your mission and vision, it's important to grow just for the maintaining the health of an advocacy organization. And this could be something that's globally or even localized in your local community. So it's a cornerstone for any nonprofit advocacy organization. And it's, as I mentioned, to sustain growth and also increase your impact. It goes beyond day-to-day operations and provides a roadmap for long-term success. So I've outlined just kind of 5 main reasons of why this is crucial. One, it provides direction and focus, providing a clear sense of direction, aligning the organization efforts with its mission and vision, kind of what I just talked about in the previous slide. It guides decision-making by prioritizing goals and objectives. And that one is very crucial. I think with a lot of organizations, Tigray, Eritrean, whatever have you, is sometimes these organizations wants to be everything for everybody. And it's really important that you refine it and work with other organizations to see what their focus is. For example, we're really about educated advocacy. We're also on justice and accountability. Sometimes people will reach out to us and ask us about the health situation and to connect us with doctors and stuff like that in Tigray. There's another advocacy organization called HPN for Tigray, which is Health Professionals Network for Tigray. So we know that that is really their pillar. And sometimes what we'll do is say, you know what, let me direct you with an advocacy organization that specifically focuses on that. And that way you guys can strategically work with one another and really play on each other's strengths. When you have a focus that is just too wide and you're trying to do everything, then you won't really have a strength in everything. It's really important to kind of hone in on those things. Also for adaptability and resilience, it helps you navigate to uncertainties. We especially saw this where in Tigray during the genocide, we saw things were changing on a daily basis. So it's pretty important that you're able to remain adaptable and adapt to those kind of changes. So there's also resource optimization, whether it's financial resources, time is a valuable resource for volunteers, and also skill sets. You want to make sure that you're using it to the best of your ability. And because, at least for our organization, we have everyone's strictly a volunteer. We want to make sure that we're using everyone optimally. And that also helps you identify opportunities for both growth and expansion. Then also stakeholder alignment and understanding who your stakeholders are. That could be media, that could be members of the US or other foreign governments that you want to get on your side, partners, staff, things of that nature. It's important to align with them and that everyone has a shared understanding and commitment to organizational goals. And then also understanding measurable outcomes. What's your metric for success? If you do a campaign, do you have this many retweets? Do you have this many eyeballs? Did you write an article? Who's engaging with it? You want to understand what success means to you. And then there's steps that are also part of the strategic planning that I'll just review. So one is the mission and vision review. So you want to assess the relevance and clarity of the organization's mission and vision. I kind of mentioned in the first 2 slides. And then you also want to align those with current societal needs of your organization. So what is need at present, and you adapt it there. So that's why I said it's important to remain fluid, because whatever is the most pressing is what you need to do.
It's impossible.
Then you need to do a SWOT analysis. So SWOT, it's SWOT, that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's important to go through that with your organization so you can understand like where's opportunities for growth, what can you really rely on for your strengths, things of that nature. And then also identifying internal capacities and external factors influencing the organization. Goal setting. There's something, if you guys are familiar, it's called SMART goals. It's an acronym. It stands for establishing specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. You can say like, if you keep it broad and say, I want to advocate for Tigray, or if I want to advocate for Eritrea, for example, but like, how do you want to do so? What's the timeline? What specific cause do you want to do? It's very important to prioritize and establish very specific goals for that. Next, it's going to be developing an action plan. Developing detailed action plans outline steps required to achieve each goal. And then again, like kind of measurable outcomes you want to monitor and evaluate. So you have to have a system for ongoing monitoring monitoring and evaluation of progress. And you should regularly review and adjust the strategic plan in response to changing circumstance. So for example, at the beginning of the war, you probably saw a lot of click to tweet campaigns that generated a lot of interest. And then about, I guess, like a year in or so, Twitter had a lot of changes, and they kind of made tweet to click campaigns less effective. So they were purposely restricting how many people would see them. As such, we kind of adapted, and a lot of other organizations adapted. So that wasn't like a primary focus anymore, because they weren't getting the reach that we wanted. And it was mostly kind of staying within the community that pretty much knew what was going on. So adapting, that's an example of kind of adapting to your goals. Onward, it's building a strong team. In nonprofit advocacy, the heartbeat of success resonates within the collective strength of your team. It's not about just assembling a group of individuals. It's about cultivating a dedicated and diverse team that becomes the driving force behind the achievement of advocacy goals. So one thing that's kind of unique, I guess, about Omna Tigray compared to a lot of other advocacy organizations, it's we're primarily women, which, you know, go to the women of the group. It's very important to amplify female voices. And oftentimes we'll find ourselves in meetings with, whether it's stakeholders like members of Congress or journalists, and you'll see it's like a majority male audience. And it's really important that you advocate for women to kind of step up and share their voice in this circumstance. And then also, I mentioned diverse. We have people of all different ages, all different backgrounds, some born in Addis, some born here in the diaspora, but all for a collective mission. And then they also have different backgrounds. Some people are in marketing, some people are in tech, and really leveraging those kind of diverse experiences and voices for the collective goal. And then when doing so and building your team, it's really important to incorporate these elements. First, fostering dedication. Dedication is the fuel that propels the organization forward. Building a strong team involves instilling a shared commitment to the mission. So you want them to feel as dedicated as you do. And especially because the objectives that we're trying to reach is so large and it's going to be a long-term objective, you want to make sure that they maintain dedication. It's very easy for people to experience burnout. And so you want to keep them motivated and dedicated because, you know, everyone is here for the long run. I mentioned embracing diversity. So true strength arises from the diverse perspective, experience, and talents that you have in your organization. And you want to build your team, and you want to actively seek individuals with a variety of backgrounds. So not only waiting for people to join your organizations, but also be a part of the recruitment process. So we saw people where we need more writers, we need more tech people, and we actively sought out people that would fulfill our needs. You want to cultivate a collaborative culture. So we have different teams, whether it's like a writing team, a branding team, PR team, things of that nature. And we try to engage the teams with one another. You guys have probably seen our slide decks and that we have on our website and also across social media. So we have like a branding and writing team that comes up with the content. They work with a design team. Then they work with the social team to get it posted. So just working really collaboratively to make sure that the goals are indeed met. Investing in professional development, whatever that looks like. We sometimes had some like quarterly or occasionally we'd have meetings and say like, hey, let's do a workshop. Let's see what personality type you have so we can better understand. It could be holding symposiums such as this so people can better understand how to build up their professional development, because as they develop, that's only going to benefit your organization. Working on effective communication is very important. You want to establish clear lines of communication and ensuring that information flows transparently and efficiently. This could be like through your website, it could be social media about who you are, and also making sure that stakeholders, again, whether that's media, it could be members of Congress and the like, they have easy way to communicate with you and that you're effectively communicating with them. And then lastly, but not least, is celebrating achievements. Again, what we've experienced is a lot of people may experience burnout. A lot of our members were also in school. So it was very important to say, like, we appreciate you, we acknowledge everything you guys are doing, and also stating that the actions that they're implementing have a real world impact. It's hard to say like, okay, if you do this campaign, this happens. But if you say, because you worked on this, you saved this person's life, or you know, 5 people were aware of this cause that didn't know about it before, that's something that they should be aware of. Board development and engagement. Again, this is more on the technical team building side. A committed and engaged board is instrumental. Understand the importance of assembling a diverse and skilled board of directors. And then for those that are already in a nonprofit, rejuvenate board engagement to ensure collective commitment to your mission. So it's really important. This is something I think a lot of people don't necessarily do, having a formalized board. They're kind of your checks and balances. They want to make sure that your leadership and your teams are really aligning with your vision. You're not going too far off guard. If you have questions about a certain partnership that you want to do, they're going to say like, hey, this would be a good partner, or this wouldn't be a good partner. Oh, I think someone's.
Sorry, who's that? Sorry.
It's okay. I think it's very important that you have a board and that you implement either bi-monthly or quarterly meetings, whatever have you. And then this is like legal. Again, this is more of the technical, but it's very important. Making sure that you understand federal, state, and local tax requirements, also complying with the rules governing tax deductible contributions. There's a lot of nonprofits, but not a lot of them are legally registered as a 501c3. And it's very important that in establishing your nonprofit that you get that kind of certification, because there's a lot of opportunities that will only become available to you. Fundraising, for example, if you wanted to apply for grants and things of that nature, if you're not a registered 501c3, then you will automatically kind of not be eligible for a lot of these grants. And then also with the IRS, it's important because if you do participate in fundraisers for whatever cause you're fundraising for, this will also help you get tax exemption status. Going to branding and effective communication. You want to craft a compelling brand and communication effectively is vital. Whether launching or revitalizing, establishing a strong brand identity effectively conveys your nonprofit's message to stakeholder. So for here, I just put a screenshot. This is what you'll see when you go to Omna Tigray's page. And, you know, we say very clearly you have the power to stop the genocide happening. And we say what our vision statement is. I clicked the resource center here, and we have a bunch of resources where we effectively communicate like what we're looking for, and advocacy resources, reports, articles that really press releases, how to get involved. It's very clear like what we want to communicate, whether it's talking about the humanitarian crisis or the refugee crisis happening in Sudan, or how to get involved. You just want to make sure that everybody has easy access, and they're not taking too long to figure out what you're about. Technological integration. It's important to incorporate some kind of technology component. This is going to be for like website, implementing tools, working with, if it's a CRM, even creating like an email database. And once you start collecting names and keeping them up to date and saying like, okay, I'm going to send monthly, I'm going to send, you know, once a week, here's a recap of things happening with my organization. Or you can say like in Eritrea in a broader sense to keep people updated, just making sure that you're on the cutting edge of technology. And then that way you could be agile and responsive as possible. And then also collaborative partnerships. It really amplifies your impact. It's important to explore the power of partnerships with other nonprofits, businesses, community organizations, and they enhance resources, reach, and effectiveness for both new and existing nonprofits. Here's an example. One of the things that we talked about was the lack of justice and accountability happening in Tigray. You could see on the bottom of this image that these are different organizations that work together to put this campaign about. And once you work with other organizations, and sometimes it could just be for one specific cause, it doesn't have to be for everything. It can really help push your audience to theirs and vice versa. And it really just shows that it's not just you alone, that this is a interest of many people. So you want to just kind of push the collaboration as much as possible where it makes sense. We've sometimes we'll get approached for a collaboration and we feel like it doesn't really make sense or it doesn't really align with our vision, or it's not something that's necessarily a major priority for us now. So just because collaboration is very good, you should be selective and make sure that whatever you collaborate on, it really aligns with your mission and vision. And then just to conclude this, it's important to remember that your commitment to positive change is a catalyst for transformation. Whether you're starting a new nonprofit or strengthening an existing one, you have to go with passion, resilience, and a collective commitment to creating a better world for your cause. I think everyone collectively here sees a future where that's brighter for our people. So I commend everyone for being a part of this and attending, and just keeping that at the essence. It's like, that whether or not the outcome of a campaign is not what you expected, you have to understand, like, this is something that realistically you're committing to for the rest of your life. So it's important to remain steadfast in your passion and your resilience. And with that, I leave it for any questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Well, I guess there is no one, so I'll take the opportunity to ask.
Okay.
I see that you have handled the issue of setting up a nonprofit and making maximum, well, I would say optimal use of it. But do you guys hold these kinds of workshops to the public, like to the rest of the community, so they can do the same thing? Or is it something you do only within yourselves?
So what we do is, luckily, I mentioned we have like a diverse group of people, and
Yeah.
people are not only in like age and things of that nature or where they were born, but also where they're at. So kind of like within our organization, for example, myself, I'm based in Las Vegas. So I take, my learnings there, and then you kind of act as an ambassador for wherever you're located. So that's kind of the implementation. And that's kind of, I think, what's been really effective. So sometimes we'll have an initiative, and maybe it's not necessarily through OMNA. Maybe there's something I'm passionate about and I want people to get started. I'll say, hey guys, I'll reach out to my OMNA Tigray team and say, hey, can you reach out to your local cities and explore this or whatever have you.
That's awesome. Thank you. I think Joseph wants to ask a question, and I'll give him the floor.
Okay, thanks a lot, Eyerusalem. The first question that comes to my mind is, probably have asked you before, why women? The overwhelming number of OMNA members are women. Why do you think it is the young woman? Because in the Eritrean case, it's just the opposite. Probably Feven is gonna kill me, but that's what's the case. It's men. Do you have any idea why is that? I will leave that question.
Yeah. So I mentioned that OMNA Tigray was started in December 2020, and it was a lot like the formulation of a group. A lot of the original members were female who knew each other, and they recruited like specific people. And why women? I don't know why. We have some men members, but it's something that we're proud about. I think. Not to say that we feel, I'm trying to, how can I phrase this? I feel like naturally, one of the things about our organization, even though like it's a majority women, we're not necessarily like big, like women facing. The majority of people in our organization, they like to do behind the scenes work. And I don't know, it's just something like, I think because it originally started with like some the majority of the founders were women, and they said, hey, we noticed this lapse. They contacted their friends, and it kind of like grew that way, if that makes sense. But it's something that I encourage, because I see not only on like national or global advocacy organizations, but even local community leaderships. Sometimes you'll always see it's like, the president is a man, the vice president is a man. And then when it comes to PR, that's where you put the woman, or where so it's just like being very intentional. And I think like historically, sometimes like back home, men typically do reserve those spaces. And so it's just kind of status quo. And it's important, I think, with the diaspora, especially like, and new, it's not only diaspora, but I think newer generations, women are very much like, why not me? I can do it, if not just as good as you, but probably even better. So I think just kind of encouraging that and making sure to amplify. And sometimes what I'll see, and this is not specific, I think, to like Habesha culture or anything, this is even in workplace culture. Sometimes women voices are kind of silenced, or a woman will say something, a man will say it louder, and then the man will get praised. And it's just kind of internalizing, oh, okay, maybe my voice is not important. And that's why it's important to be intentional to really lift these women's voices up. If you see that 15 people have their hands raised, you know, make the effort and say like, okay, we've heard enough from you guys. Let's ask the one, let her have the floor. So it's just, it's going to be a lot of work to undo, because again, it is the status quo for men to kind of take these leadership positions. So it's just really about intentionality. If you have a nonprofit and you do see it skewed that way, then, you know, how can we outreach to women? Let's effectively say like, hey, I know this person's really talented this, let's recruit them to create that balance. I know when we've participated in meetings with some stakeholders, you'll just see like, sometimes you'll hear like a guy speak and another guy, and they're like, and then, you know, like a Tigray too would be like, okay, this is enough of them. Let's balance the room. Let's have some of the female voices, because they're very important. And oftentimes like women receive the brunt of like abuses or mistreatment. So it's important that their voices are not only shared, but you have to be intentional and, you know, really profile their voices.
So there are a man and a woman raising their hands, and I'm going to give the opportunity to the woman, despite the men. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Okay, Professor, go ahead.
Hello, سمع له?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation, young lady. It is very impressive and interesting. My question to you, first, I would help you with Yosef asked, tell him, because women's oppression, for women's oppression, and for women's right, and women for women could be the solution.
Yeah.
Anyway, my question to you, is it only for the Tigray and Tigrayans, or is it inclusive for international, like Eritrean? We have Eritrean problem the same like Tigray. Eritrean youth, have you invited them, or do you have a plan to collaborate with them or to work with them to have peace with them, something like that? Do you have that? Thank you.
Yeah, so although our organization is on the Tigray and our focus is to help the people of Tigray, and we say like the people of Tigray because that's also inclusive of everyone that's living in Tigray, whether that's the Kunama, the Irob, anyone, like Eritreans live in Tigray, Tigrayans. So anyone who is for that mission is part. So we have Eritrean members, we have other Ethiopian members that are not Tigrayan identifying, we have Ferengi members, just anyone who like really aligns with our mission. So we're open to everyone, and who believes our main objective is to help and support, like, again, the people of Tigray, but it's not like we collaborate with where it makes sense. So if we see hostile actors and we say like, okay, this isn't impacting both, then we're open to both. But for our primary objective is to help, but it's not necessarily, you know, and that's why we say like we generally like to use the term the people of Tigray.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, now it's Musi's turn.
Yeah, thank you. It is almost the same. First, I must say that I am impressed, very impressed, and kind of jealous. And I asked this question because I mean our fate is interwoven.
Yes.
We, Tigray and Eritrea, have the same destiny. So, do you have plan to share experience with Eritrean youth in diaspora? For the because I see you are doing impressive job, and we need such organization among Eritreans also. I'm using some Norwegian words, so because I live in Norway. Otherwise, I will do my best to speak in good English. So, do you have such plan? I mean, it is very important that you make such plan. I don't want to press you, but I want to know if you have plan.
Yeah, the same
I
question.
mean, yeah, like tentatively, we don't have like an exact plan per se, because even within the Tigrayan community, it's not like we're saying like, hey guys, right now we're going to do the symposium. In the same way that you guys organize the symposium, it would make sense to do like more of a youth component, and I could do the same presentation to the youth. We're very open to resource sharing with people that have the same mission. So to answer your question, like, yes, if the opportunity arises, and if you think you could do something like this specifically for the youth component, we're very open to like sharing our information, because a lot of our purpose and our goals align, and helping you would help us as well, and vice versa.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jerusalem. Your presentation was amazing. And we really appreciate you coming here and teaching us about how to run a successful nonprofit. And I hope we will extend this partnership into other advocacy areas that we could do together, because like you said, and everybody else did too, our future is intertwined. We're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. If something doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for us. So we can bring about common solutions by working together. So I hope to see this partnership in the future. And I really appreciate you coming here and teaching us about issues that are important to make our advocacy better. Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, ብጣዕሚ ፅቡቅ ዝኾነ ትምህርቲ ዳርጋ መብዛሕትኡ ሲ እንታይ ክንብል ውዕልና ኣብቲ ስፐሲፊክ ዝኾነ ከመይ ጌርና እንታይ ንገብር ክንብል ውዕልና እሞኒ ጀሩሳሌም ከዓኒ ነቲ ዲቴይልስ ክትነግረና ፀኒሓ ነቲ ናን ፕሮፊት ከመይ ጌርና ኣድቮኬሲ ንገብር ከመይ ጌርና ማክሲማይዝ ንገብሮ ማለት እዩ ነቲ ንገብሮ ስራሕ ሲ ዝበለፀ ውፅኢት ክንረኽበሉ ንኽእል መንገድታት ተርእየና ፀኒሓ, which was really impressive. I will take her up on her words and try to reach out if she can hear me right now. I think she
Yes,
can.
absolutely.
Yeah, I will because I do a bunch of work like that, but I need help.
Okay.
ስለዚ በቃ ክትሕግዘና ትኽእል እያ ከም መንእስያት ኤርትራ እውን ካብዚ ተማሂርናሲ ልክዕ ዋላ ንኣብነት ክሪኤቲቪቲ ክውሕደካ ክእል እዩ sometimes ከም ዘለዎ ግን ክትቀልሖ ትኽእል ዕውት ነገራት ኣሎ ሓደ ካብኡ በዓል ኢየሩሳሌም ማለት ሪች ኣውት ጌርካ ምስአን ፓርትነርሽፕ ጌርካ ትኩሉ ሰን ዝገበርኦ ናተን ሪሶርስ ሼር ትገብሮ ወይ ኮኔክሽንስ ገለ ከዓኒ ክንጥቀም በዛ ኣጋጣሚ እዚ ንኩልኩም መንእስያት ኣብዚ ዘለኹም የበራታትዕ ማለት እዩ